Hi, welcome to the Brief Book Reviews channel, otherwise known as An Old Guy Reviews the Book That He's Read This Week. So what's the old guy read this week? Well, the book I've read this week is called The Gold by Neil Forsyth and Thomas Turner. It accompanied a BBC TV series which was very well received, which was released earlier this year. And the book itself was released on the 16th of February 2023 here in the UK. And it's the tale of the Brinks-Mat robbery. What's the Brinks-Mat robbery, I hear you say? Well, probably the best descriptions on the back cover of the book, and it explains it far better than I ever would. So for once, I'll just read it. It says, on Saturday, the 26th of November, 1983, an armed gang stole gold bullion worth almost £26 million from the Brinks-Mat security depot near London's Heathrow Airport. It was the largest robbery in world history and only the start of an extraordinary story. For 40 years, myths and legends have grown around the Brinks-Mat heist and the events that followed. The full epic tale has never been told in its entirety until now. And sure enough, Messrs. Forsyth and Turner have done an incredible amount of research and come up with a book that, whilst non-fiction, as in a lot of non-fiction books, is sometimes stranger than fiction. So this is the tale of the Brinks-Mat heist. There's a very useful introduction at the start of the book, which explains where we are when this robbery took place as a country. We're at peak neoliberalism, I guess. The start of neoliberalism, where in the UK it was known as Thatcherism under Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. In the US, Reaganomics under President Ronald Reagan, which was a philosophy of small state privatization, free market capitalism, all boats rise with a rising tide, etc. Also in the UK, there's been a shift in the way the country earned its money. It used to be manufacturing, but now it moved to a services economy. And the introduction explains that these changes and this culture had led to a different type of criminal, i.e. one that didn't particularly get their hands dirty and commit crimes themselves, but dealt with the proceeds of crime and made money from that. It also included, for probably more and more professional people like lawyers and accountants who were involved with the proceeds of criminal activities, but turned a blind eye to it because they were making nice fees and commissions. Much the same as nowadays, I suppose. But anyway, so we go back to November 1983. The raid takes place on a Saturday morning. They know the robbers are all trained professional robbers. They've all done this before. They break into the Brinks-Mat depot. Originally, they're going just for cash, but the guard can't remember the new code to the safe. So they get away with £26 million worth of gold. The police are on the scene clearly very quickly, and soon amass a team, work out that this is a professional job and there are only certain people that could have pulled this off, and immediately begin to chat to the guards to find, because they think it must be an inside job, and sure enough it is. There's a relationship between one of the guards' family and one of the robbers. So that initial part of the book, which describes the heist, they knew the money was going to be there, the money and the gold was going to be there because they knew there was a flight out to the Far East on the Saturday, is relatively straightforward. The problem, of course, is if you've stolen £26 million worth of gold, what do you do with it? How do you get rid of it? All those gold bars are marked with the maker's mark and a serial number. So you can't just rock up to your local pawnbroker and say, yeah, mate, it's 26 million quid worth of gold. What will you give us for it? So that's the intriguing part of the story, because we move on to other criminals that are tasked with the job of moving $26 million worth of gold, £26 million worth of gold, should I say, and turning that into legitimate money, i.e., money laundering. We hear a tale of a small company down in the west of England in Bristol that currently takes in scrap gold, scrap jewellery, and smelts it. And all of a sudden, that company and the people behind it are smelting the Brinks-Mat gold. Now, in order to be able to reintroduce that smelted gold bar into the system, it needs to be added with some other stuff that makes it less than entirely pure, which would be a dead giveaway. So there's copper coins melted in with it. It then has to be taken to an assay office to be stamped as pure gold and then reintroduced into the system. And obviously there's a whole web of people that are required to produce the paperwork, etc., to do that. So it's an intriguing tale. It's a really interesting tale. There are tales that if you bought some gold in the mid-80s in a traditional jeweller's, almost certainly some of that gold came from Brinks-Mat. There's also a property boom, based on this robbery. Years ago, that the River Thames would see boats delivering all sorts of stuff to London. But once containerization got into play, only very, very large boats could traverse the oceans, and traffic moved from London and the Thames to deep water ports such as Felixstowe and Harwich. As a result, there were lots of buildings in the former London Docklands that were derelict, storehouses, warehouses, all sorts of buildings, which were ripe for development. And sure enough, a lot of the Brinks-Mat laundered money went into developing those new flats, apartments that were built in the former Docklands. So it's a really intriguing story. I give it 7 out of 10. My only criticism, and it's perhaps being a bit picky, is that whilst at the back of the book there are acknowledgements of the sources they've used for the researchers have used for the information, there's no index as such. So that typically happens in a non-fiction book. So that maybe it was a case of the book needed to be got out to print to coincide with the BBC TV series. So maybe the editing had to be rushed. But there's certainly a couple of typos in there, and there are a couple of times where it doesn't flow particularly well. But nevertheless, good story about the heist, an absolutely intriguing tale of what happened to the money from that robbery and how it got into all sorts of different areas worldwide. So it's a really good read. So I'd give it a 7 out of 10. That's it for this week's brief book review. 10/10 till we do it again. Thanks for watching.